Alright guys, we are going to start the muscular system. You're going to follow along in the notes that I gave you on Friday. If you are not here on Friday, then the notes are in the folder section of the folder section of our class. It's under the 7th grade science folder, under Unit 6 body systems, in the muscular system, and then the notes are there. If you don't have a printer at home, please copy the notes onto a piece of paper. You will be asked to take a picture of your completed notes once you're done with this to submit as your daily assignment. So we're going to talk about the structure and function of the muscular system. We know that muscles need a lot of energy to complete their job, especially when we're doing high performance tasks such as sports. In football, in soccer, in basketball, in dance, we need lots of energy to complete our job. So, asking which organelle do you think is the most abundant inside muscle cells? So remember, an organelle is a part of a cell, such as a cell wall, a cell membrane, or a nucleus. So which organelle do you think is the most abundant, that has the most inside muscle cells? If you answered mitochondria, you are correct. So mitochondria, we know, is the powerhouse of the cell. It converts glucose, which is carbohydrates or sugar, into energy for the cell to use. Which systems of the body work to provide the nutrients and oxygen muscles need to perform? So, which body system? So, we've been talking about body systems. We've talked about the skeletal system, the integumentary system, now the muscular system. But what body system provides nutrients? What body system provides oxygens? And we're going to dive more into these over the next 2 weeks, but we have our digestive, circulatory, and respiratory systems. So remember, as we go through this, we are filling in the blanks. The blanks are bolded on our PowerPoint. So the definition of a muscle is an organ that can relax and contract and moves your body. There are 2 types. You have your voluntary muscles, and your voluntary muscles are muscles that you can control. Okay, so this is a lot of your body movements, such as your bicep, your quad, stuff like that. These are things you voluntarily move. Your involuntary muscles are muscles that you can't control. Are muscles that you can't control, such as your heart, the muscles around your stomach, your lungs, stuff like that. So you have a couple of different types of muscle tissue. Remember, you have 2 types of muscles. You have involuntary and voluntary, but you have 3 types of muscle tissue that we're going to focus on. Our first one is our skeletal muscle. So our skeletal muscle moves bones. It attaches to our bones to move it. It is voluntary, so that means your brain, you and your brain choose to move it. Your tendons connect muscles to your bone. It contracts pretty quickly and it tires more easily. So these are the not these are the bones. These are the muscles that get tired when you exercise. Okay, these muscles look really striped or striated. Okay, as you can see in the picture, you have a big red cell, a big red muscle tissue, and it looks vertically striped or vertically wavy. Okay, examples of skeletal muscle are your biceps, your quads, and your pectoral. So you are going to draw and label this striated muscle in the circle on our paper. It should be to the right of the skeletal muscle part. So you're going to draw the muscles in, you're going to label the nuclei, and you're going to label the striations. All right. So in order to move our muscles, we move because pairs of muscles work together. So like you can see with your bicep, you have a muscle on the top and the muscle on the bottom. So one end of the muscle attaches at the end of the bone by a tendon. So your muscle doesn't attach directly to the bone. You have a tendon that is in between your muscle and your bone. And your tendons are kind of like a rubber band. So one end of the muscle attaches at the end of the bone by the tendon, and the opposite end of the muscle attaches to an adjacent bone. And the muscles always pull the opposite bone. So if you can see in the picture, our tendon is that little white part that attaches the muscle to the bone. So when our muscle contracts, it pulls at the tendon, and the tendon pulls that bone. So our muscles are going to contract and it's going to make our muscles shorter, which is going to make us move. All right, so remember we had two types of muscles. We have three types of muscle tissue. Our two types of muscles are voluntary and involuntary. We've talked about skeletal muscle. Now we're going to talk about smooth muscle. So your smooth muscle regulates your blood pressure, your digestion, and other internal functions. We can't really control our blood pressure or our digestion, as in our brain cannot send a pulse to say, hey, do this or do that, with us thinking about it. So therefore it is involuntary. Some examples of smooth muscle would be your muscles in your stomach, your bladder, and your blood vessels. So you are going to draw and label the smooth muscle in the circle on your paper. Please make sure that you label the nucleus. As you can see, it's that little round red cell. It's that little round red cell. Okay, smooth muscle is not as wavy as skeletal muscle. All right, and then our third type of muscle that we're going to focus on is our cardiac muscle. So our cardiac muscle is found only in the heart, i.e. cardiac muscle. It is involuntary, which means we cannot control it. So the way muscles normally work is that your brain is going to send a pulse to your muscle that says, hey, I want you to do this. And then your muscle does that. But your cardiac muscle can be independently from input from the brain. So it doesn't need that stimulus to say, hey, do this. It's just going to do that automatically. So you are going to draw and label the cardiac muscle in the circle on our paper. I really like the cardiac muscle because it's very clear to see. You can see the muscle and you can see the cells really, really clearly in this picture. So also at the very end of your notes, I want you to compare. So tell me about the similarities that cardiac muscle shares with skeletal and smooth muscle. So it may share something with skeletal muscle and it may share something different with smooth muscle. So you're going to write that down at the bottom. When you are done with your notes, make sure that they're glued into your notebook. If you have your notebook, oh my gosh. Make sure that they're glued into your notebook if you have your notebook. And then you're going to take a picture of your notes and you're going to submit them as your daily assignment.